What's up, YouTube? So I figured I'd do one of these videos since I see so many other people doing them, and I think they're a pretty cool idea for people that are either looking to buy a Dodge Charger or already own one, so they can maybe feel like, yeah, I can relate to that. So this is the 7 things I like least about my Dodge Charger. Number 1 would probably be the hard plastic interior pieces. Kind of tap on them so you can hear them. So the hard plastic, yeah, it's not just that it's hard plastic, but it's like cheap hard plastic. It's like the kind of plastic that you'd find like in the dollar store toy kind of aisle. It doesn't rattle, but when you press on it, it's crunchy. Like when it's pressing against the other plastic. But yeah, it's livable. It's just, you know, could definitely use improvement. I haven't been in a lot of newer Dodge Chargers, but from what I understand, they've corrected a lot of that, and their new plastic has better feel to it and less crunchiness. Number 2 on the list would be the steering wheel. And again, no, it's a common complaint about the Dodge Charger. It's huge, and it just, you know, it's not the greatest looking steering wheel. It feels decent in the hands, you know. It's wrapped in, this one at least is wrapped in leather, but it's almost like they just plucked this thing right out of a Dodge Ram. I don't know, it seems like it's almost a truck steering wheel. But I think the newer Chargers have smaller steering wheels, and the SRT 8s have really nice steering wheels, you know, almost like flat bottom. But there's really no options to change the steering wheel out. The only option I know of is a Grant steering wheel that you can switch in, but it's not any smaller. It just has more notches, and it's a little thicker. So it's not really solving the problem, the size of the steering wheel. Number 3 on my list would be the paint on the car. Because the paint, I love the color of the car. I love the metallic, and I'll get into all that on the 7 things I love most about my Dodge Charger. But the thickness of the paint is what really I don't like. And that, you know, certain areas, it just seems like it was applied thinner than other areas of the car. As far as I know, the car's never been in a wreck, so it's not a situation of a bad repaint or anything like that. The Carfax, when I bought it, I'm only the 2nd owner, and it didn't show any accidents on it, so I'm assuming it hasn't been in any accidents. Like for instance, the front bumper, there's just embedded bug material in it, and it gets really scratched up. There's nothing that I can do about it. I've tried using a clay bar, and you know, I haven't had it buffed out professionally. That's my next step. But you know, just for the average guy that doesn't have a buffer, trying to clay bar it and wash it really good and wax it, it's impossible to get those little imperfections out. And so I don't know if that's the quality of the clear coat or what, but that's the problem on the front bumper. And then elsewhere, it's just very easy to scratch. Number 4 on the list would be the gas mileage. More so around town than on the highway. On the highway, it's pretty good actually, and that's again something I'll touch base on in the 7 things I like the most about the Dodge Charger. But around town, this car is pretty bad. I mean, if I'm just driving stop and go traffic, and I don't really get on the highway at all, you're talking, you know, 14 miles per gallon. And that's, you know, of course, I'm running a 93 octane tune, so that's 93 octane gas, which is, you know, not cheap. It's a con, but it comes with the territory. I didn't buy this car thinking I was going to get amazing gas mileage. So not something that I could say, oh, you know, I had these high expectations of it and it's disappointed me. No, I knew it was going to be pretty bad. But all right, number 5 on the list would be the pulsating interior lights. So this is kind of an odd thing that the Dodge Charger does, and I know I'm definitely not the only one that's experienced this. It typically happens more when you first start the car from a cold start. But if it's at night and you have your lights on, and I have auto headlights, so the, you know, lights come on automatically or whatever. When you're driving, you will see the interior dashboard pulsating. The lights will pulsate. light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. And it does it even worse if you put on like your turn signal. It'll start pulsating with the turn signal. And so I did some research on it, and there's a bunch of different, things people say why it does it. Some people say it's the alternator isn't heavy duty enough to deal with it, even though this car has a heavy duty alternator from the factory. Other people say it's because the battery's in the trunk, and so the gauge wire that they ran from the battery to the front isn't adequate enough to hold that charge. It's the weirdest thing, and you would think that in 2009 they would have something like that figured out. I mean, I know it's not a bad alternator because people have confirmed that it's not that. They put in a new alternator and it still does it. There's really no cure for it, no explanation yet, so it's just one of those things. It's a quirk. The sixth thing on the list, which actually I probably should have put higher on the list because it is pretty annoying, is the squeaks. We'll just say the squeaks that come from this car. It's a big, heavy car, so the suspension is under a lot of stress. A lot of people have to rebuild the suspension on this car, before it even hits 100,000 miles. Right now, and it's been doing this probably since 50,000 miles, I'd say. There's a squeak that comes from the front of the suspension, and it's usually worse in the wintertime months, and when you first start driving the car before it's kind of moved around. From what I understand, it could be a host of different things. It could be end links. It could be the sway bar bushings, which I have replaced, and it didn't seem to make a difference. It could be spring isolators, or maybe it's the shock isolators or the strut isolators, whatever. I think it's like that rubber piece that goes in between the strut and the body of the car, and so I think that gets old and wears out, and that could be causing it. So it doesn't do it all the time. If it did do it all the time, I'd be really annoyed with it and have to get it fixed right away. But it's only occasional, and like I said, it's usually only happening when you first start the car up in the morning, or it's really, really cold outside. You'll definitely hear it more. In the summertime, I barely hear it. Number 7 on the list would have to be just the overall fit and finish of the car. Mostly interior. There are a couple exterior body panels that are questionable, but there's the interior has there's this center stack with this really thin, cheap plastic piece that never seems to fit all the way into the clips right. I have taken it on and off a couple times, but it's always looked like that. No matter what I do, I can't get the thing to sit right. There's the cup holder trim that constantly needs to be kind of clipped back in, seems to pop out here and there, and because it's cheap plastic, it just makes this crunchy noise that you just hate, or at least I hate. Gaps between the dashboard and the door. Looking around, I can find quite a few things that I could complain about. I didn't buy this car expecting great fit and finish. I don't think anyone in history has ever said I want to buy a Dodge Charger because I think the fit and finish in the interior are going to be top notch. But I have to say, despite all of those 7 things that I dislike about this car, the things that I like way outweigh the things I do not like. So that's the 7 things I dislike about the Charger, and then I'll do my next video. I'll do 7 things that I like about my Charger or love about my Charger. I've got a lot of videos I've been planning. I still need to get a new GoPro. I'm still using my iPhone for recording right now, which isn't the greatest. But I'm gonna do videos on all of the different mods that I've done, so kind of dedicate a video for each modification and kind of give all the details on it and what I like and dislike about it, price, where I got it from, what have you. I've done so much to this car. It's I'd like to share with other people what I've done and and all the information I can on it. And then various other videos. I'd like to do a follow-up on the Corsa exhaust that I put on, because there's a lot of pros and cons to that. So look forward to making more videos, and check out those videos when I make them, and subscribe to me and hit like and all those kind of things, and look forward to making another one soon. Peace out.